Good morning. This is Jill. No Terrence this morning. Actually, he doesn't even know I'm coming on. I got a word this morning from the Lord that I need to share with my ladies. I've got to share this. All right. So if this is your first time on our channel, we're Terrence and Jill Smith. We have a ministry called a God-Ordained Union. Our vision is simple. We're trying to increase the kingdom with more God-ordained marriages. And so we're on a mission to helping those who are feeling like they're lonely and left out, helping those to see some of the things that they could be that could be blocking them from missing their God-ordained mate. So we're here to help push through and to help expose the enemy and just to help better prepare you all for marriage, those of you who desire marriage. Okay, couple of things. First thing is that we go live every Tuesday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please subscribe and make sure you turn on your notifications. We have not been on the last two Tuesdays because our son is home from New Zealand for the month. So Terrence has been spending some time with Terrence Jr. And so last night, which was Tuesday, I don't know when you're watching this, but last night um, they uh, they were deep in their chess game. So that's what they do. They're competitors, and so they were deep playing chess. And so it worked out perfectly for me because I was in the bed by like 7:30. So I say that to say we haven't been on, but make sure you tune in because we're resuming next Tuesday. We're in a series called Fruitfulness. And we are talking about the fruits of the Spirit, and we are on goodness. So we'll talk about that next Tuesday. All right. So the Lord gave me this. Is there any other announcements? I don't think there's any other announcements. I don't think so. Just make sure you subscribe, share our videos, all that good stuff. All right, so the Lord gave me this. He actually gave me this on, what was it, yesterday? Not yesterday, Monday. He gave this word to me on Monday. And I know I needed to share it. And I didn't know how to share it or when I was going to share it. Knowing me, I usually share it with my group of girlfriends on one-on-one. We, on the phone, with Tiffany and Tiffany, my girlfriends. And so, but I said, no, I need to get this out. So I was getting dressed this morning. I said, I need to get this word out to you all, you ladies who are praying for your future husband. You're praying. So what is happening? What I believe is happening is that you are praying that he will come. You're praying that he will come. When actuality, what you should be praying for, as far as yourself, you should be praying for patience and discernment. Because what happens is that as you are praying that he will come, the enemy is sending counterfeits. He's sending counterfeits. And so for a lot of you, unfortunately, you have settled for the counterfeit. And so you have to change your prayer. The Bible says the effectual fervent prayer of the righteous availeth much. So it's not that there's anything wrong with you or that your prayers aren't working. You need to be very strategic in your prayers. And so what I am going to charge you with immediately is to change up your prayers. Your prayers, you need, when I say praying for your future husband, you need to be praying for your future husband, like the things that he's going through right now. So there are three prayer points I want you to focus on. But let me just tell you this. So those of you who followed us from the beginning, 3 or 4 years ago, you know our story. But those of you who have not, please go back and watch our first 5 videos, and we tell the story of how we met. So for those who don't know, I met Terrence. I saw Terrence first on a dating app. I saw him first. He did not know who I was. I saw him first. And so after being bold and after several attempts, he did not respond to me. And so one day I had a dream. So I think it was like June when I met him, when I came across his profile. And I hadn't met, I mean, he hadn't responded. I had sent little hearts and all those things you do on social media. I mean, I'm sorry, on the dating app, and he didn't respond. And so, and that's a whole nother story, because the story turns out that he was no longer on that dating app. But that October, I had a dream, and I dreamt that I saw Terrence in the dream, and in the dream, it was like he had come to visit me, and he was sleeping in my spare bedroom, and the bedroom was dark. And in the bedroom, there was a safety pin in the bed with him, and the pin was poking him. The pin was poking him, and it was so dark. And so when I woke up from the dream, I knew exactly what the Lord had told me to do. Oh, let me go back. So in the dream, I went in and I didn't bother him, but what I did was I put the covers over him. I made sure that he was covered. So when I woke up, I knew exactly what my assignment was. My assignment was to pray for him, because this man was dealing with some mental anguish and some things that was on his mind, that he was dealing with. And so, and again, I had never had a conversation with this man, but in my spirit, I knew that this was my husband. And so I started praying for him. I started praying for him and covering him in prayer. I started fasting regularly. Now, fast forward to that January. That was October. I had that dream. No communication with this guy that probably thought I was crazy if he met me. That January, I got up the nerve. I found him on social media, and I sent him a DM. Well, if y'all know this, those of you who have followed us, you know the story. He responded, and he agreed to, have a conversation with me by phone. That never happened. And it was supposed to happen like within the day, like, yeah, let's, like, we going back and forth on DM, like, okay, let's exchange numbers. Well, that never happened. That didn't happen. Well, I'm going to say it never happened. It did not happen immediately. And so for 11 months, I did not hear back from this guy. I did not hear back from this guy. But I knew that it was something in my spirit that said that there was a connection with this man, something I had never felt before. And so for those 11 months, without any communication, without, I mean, in the natural realm, the man wasn't interested. He was just not into me. Like, let's just be frank. That was what the real was. And so, but the Lord kept saying, pray for him, pray for him, pray for him. And so it got to the point where I was praying for him so much that I started praying for his wife, whoever she was going to be, because the Lord was pressing it so hard. And then my prayer, of course, the Lord was developing patience in me, but because I didn't know how it was going to, I felt the connection, and I felt that he was my husband, but I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I mean, again, naturally, he wasn't interested. In the natural realm, he was not interested. And so I started praying for him. Every week I fasted, I prayed for this man's mental health. I started praying for his mental health. Okay, y'all who follow us know the story. That November, 11 months after the first conversation in January, 11 months later, that November, Terrence hit me up in my DM, and we have never been apart since. But you've got to start praying for him. You got to start praying for him. And then, of course, I learned that he went through a tumultuous divorce. And so later on, and so that was, him taking the time. And so it was 16 years between the time of his divorce and us getting married. It was 16 years. But that in that whole time, that whole period, he was, he was like healing. And so that's what I saw in the spirit realm. So there are three main areas I want you to pray for your husband. Three main areas. One is his health. His health. And when I say his health, I mean his mental health, his emotional health, his physical health, and his spiritual health. The enemy is on a prowl. There's so many men who are dealing with trauma. There's so many men, especially Black men, are dealing with trauma from the womb that is coming down from generations and generational patterns, generational curses. So you need to be praying for his mental and emotional and his physical health, because now it's weighing on their physical bodies. And so I see it even driving in uptown Charlotte, like there is this craze of, for lack of a better term, crazy Black men that's going on. A lot of people call it madman syndrome, but they're just walking around uptown like crazy madmen, and it's a spirit. And so we don't know what drove these men to this place, but I'm telling you, it's becoming more and more common in our Black men. So I need you to go hard in praying for your future husband. Pray for his mental health, his emotional health, his physical health, and his spiritual health. Second prayer point, you need to be praying for your husband's vision, that the Lord will give him vision. There's so many men out here that are complacent and just working their 9 to 5. They're complacent physically because they're mentally worn out, but really they are feeling confused. They're feeling that they know that there's a higher purpose, a higher calling for their life. They just don't know how to get there. And guess what? That's why God made marriage, because it's you, his wife, that needs to come in his house, his life to. That's a Freudian slip, but it works. Needs to come into his house and help him get to where he needs to get to. So pray that God gives him clarity, that God will give him a vision. Terrence and I were watching the other night. We love My Future Wifey podcast by Latarius Whitfield, and he had what's his name, Wall Street Trapper on it. So I follow these, being in, having a business and being like really into, business and building business. I have been following these guys for a long time. It's a group of guys, the guys from Earn Your Leisure, David Shands, and Him 500, and Eric Thomas, and I can name them. Neo, and it's so many of them. I can name them. Jeremy Anderson. All of these guys are they are in, from what they say, they are in these real strong marriages, and they are pushing marriage. They're really pushing marriage. And so they have a thirst and a love and a desire to please God. And I love that for us. I love that for our Black men. But we were watching the interview. Go watch it. Please go watch it. It's called My Future Wifey podcast, but the Wall Street Trapper was on the podcast as a guest. I think it was like a month ago. So we watched it, and Wall Street was just talking about, all his life and what he has been going through, the trauma he has been going through. But been locked up in prison and all of that. But he came out and he learned a skill. And he got this masterful skill of trading on Wall Street. And so that's his business. He teaches trading, but he reaches the audience that the wealthy don't want to reach. Like, he's teaching like the Black middle class. He's teaching us how to invest and trade and all that great stuff. But he's single. But he talked about how he was in a relationship, and he kind of believed that this woman is his wife, but he said he's so mentally damaged. He had to tell her that, give me a minute, let me figure out this thing. And he said, so he went to therapy, he got a therapist. And so he said that him and the young lady are not officially together, but he said he gives her checkups. He tells her, I saw my therapist today. So and what she did is, when she said, I don't like how this feels that we're breaking up, but I get it, and I want to give you grace, and I'm being patient. I don't know how it's going to end up with us, but I'm giving you the space to do what you need to heal. And so that is what, and so during his healing, so he's going through his healing journey, but the great thing is that he knows that he needs a wife, because the skill that he has in trading and his business, he can only go but so far. So he talks about that, how he recognizes and how he's around all of these great guys, Neo and David Shands and all those great people, and they telling him, you need to make sure you lock in with your wife. So make sure you pray. The second thing is pray for his vision. Make sure you pray for your husband's vision, that God will give him the vision. So when you come into his life, that you can put the strategy to it and take it to another level. The third point I want you to pray for is pray for your husband's, your future husband's steps. Pray for his steps, that the Lord will order his steps, that the Lord will remove distractions and the people that's not supposed to be in his life, that's distracting him and that's delaying him, that from the vision that God gives, because it's bigger than just the two of you, the two of your marriage. It is the two of you getting together and going to a next level where God wants to take you. So make sure you pray for your husband's steps, that the Lord will order his steps, that he will be at the right place at the right time, doing the right thing with the right people for the right reasons. Make sure you pray for his steps. All right. So his health, his vision, and his steps. Make sure you pray. So again, there's nothing wrong. If your husband's not come yet, there's nothing wrong with you. The thing that you need to be doing is being very strategic with your prayers. Be very, very strategic, because the husband that God has for you is unique. And he's got to develop some things also in you for the assignment that the two of you have. And so where some of us, like for instance, a Wall Street trapper who's been to jail, who's been to prison, that's a different set of qualities that a woman needs, a wife needs, to be able to deal with that type of husband who has come from, a background of poverty and imprisonment. My husband was divorced, is a divorcee. So there's a difference, and my husband has children. I don't have children. So there's a different set of skills and temperaments and things the Lord has to develop and had to develop in me to be able to be a bonus mom and to be able to be a wife to a husband who was married before, and not just married, but married where they had a family structure where his kids were, born in wedlock. And so they had a family structure that was dismantled. Thank God. But the point is that it takes a different skill set, a different emotional temperament to be in, to deal with a husband that has had that background. So be very, very intentional with your prayers, and because it's not a one size fits all thing. It's not. It's the unique person God has for you, your person. So you got to be very, very strategic with your prayers. I hope this helps. Please hit us up, Terrence and Jill at gmail.com, if you need prayer. We pray for y'all every single morning and evening. And so I believe that it's coming. I believe so many of you all are closer to your God-ordained mate than you even think or believe you are. Go in deeper in prayer. And don't forget to add fasting, because some things only come through prayer and fasting. All right. So be blessed, and we will see you. Of course, y'all see Terrence every day on the Word of the Day. But we will, God's willing, we'll see you on next Tuesday. All right. Be blessed.